Juan was 3 years into sales, grinding hard, but stuck with people pleasing, avoiding tough conversations, and burning out. He came to me skeptical as hell and left, closing more deals, leading with confidence, and finally in control of himself. Here it is how it happened. So, can you just introduce yourself and share with us what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Juan, and I'm currently a setter manager and a closer for a company that helps people get into IT.
Okay.
Um, I was previously a setter, but got moved into a setter manager after closing and being a little bit unsuccessful with that. And then slowly I've been transitioning into closing again.
For how long you have been in this industry?
In sales, I've been in sales for about 3.5 years now.
3.5 years. Okay, cool. Now let's start from beginning. Before we started working together, like what was the biggest challenge or struggle that you were facing?
Well, the biggest challenge that I was facing was I found myself being a people pleaser too often, and obviously that doesn't really help when you're trying to challenge a person and to take the uncomfortable decision,
Okay.
and also just feeling like I needed to do more and more in order to be able to hit certain numbers.
Okay.
Um, and you've helped me out a lot with that.
So how were those challenges like people pleaser or anything else were affecting your finances, your personal life, your performance in general?
Yeah, so what was happening was, I would get to the end of the call and I would have a difficult time with challenging the clients, and I've kind of feel back to like follow up, and oftentimes what would happen was they would ghost, and really it, it ended up making me kind of feel burnt out with what I was going through.
Yeah, but when you say you had like difficulties challenging, what was happening truly?
It was more so me being uncomfortable with saying the difficult things,
Okay.
which was more so a me thing, I guess. And so um, I just felt very, very uncomfortable saying that, saying the things that were kind of required, or asking the difficult questions.
Yeah.
Um, and so I would oftentimes know what I needed to say, but because I just didn't it didn't feel right, I would just skip that question, and it ended up, biting me in the ass later on.
Like usually. So Juan, you've been from a coach to coach. You've been from a course to course. You have had your fair share in, let's say, development when it comes to skills and everything else. What made you decide to work with me instead of trying to figure it out on your own? Let's say how to deal with those challenges, or why not working with someone else?
Yeah. So it was really a coincidence, I guess, that the mentor I was working with at the time, which I still am working with him right now, he actually said that the biggest game changer for me was going to be, working through this part of my personality, being that people pleaser. And I don't know, the universe just it led me to your content at that given time, and I was always very skeptical of just um, this whole like inner work, and the mindset stuff and meditation. And so I was reading your posts and looking at your videos, and I just when you sent me the document, I was like, okay, well, this is the only thing I haven't tried, so might as well try it. So I just tried it, and
So let's just try it. So, what were your expectations going in, and what did you actually experience during our sessions together?
yeah. So skepticism was the biggest thing when I when I first joined, right? And I believe I actually mentioned that at first when you and I were chatting, and you said expect nothing, and be open to everything. And I was like, all right, well, let me listen to him. In order to get the best results, I should probably follow that. And then as we were going through the sessions, I was feeling great on closing calls. I was feeling great, um, just uh, just in general. I saw a lot of what we were going through affecting my personal life before it started affecting my closing calls, and then it just found its way to those. And yeah, it was much better than expected, honestly.
Yeah. So can you describe a little bit more in details, like what the process felt like for you, like some breakthroughs, surprises, moments of clarity,
Mhm.
like a little bit more in details?
Yeah. The the biggest thing, I guess, was realizing that a lot of what was happening to me was self-imposed in a way where I was working all these hours, and I thought that that was kind of what I needed to do to kind of push through whatever I was struggling with. But I started letting go, I guess, not really just being on my computer all day every day, and started you know just doing a lot more reflecting, doing the exercises you had told me, following the feedback, um, and little by little I started enjoying the process a little bit more in sales calls, and then that's when I started having fun again. And like my team, they started enjoying my trainings a little bit more, and I started enjoying the the sales calls too. So um, it was just
Is there
something that, yeah, go ahead.
was there any specific session or a moment that kind of changed everything for you?
Well, there were a few actually. So one of them was you making me realize that I was doing all this work because of pressure, not because of inner power, I think is what you called it at that time. And as per usual, I would just after you said that, I started thinking, um, and I kind of reflected on that for the rest of that day, and then using some previous trainings that we had done, the 3 steps that you had mentioned, that's the meditations. I kind of adjusted my schedule a little bit more, and from there, that's when I started to see a good increase in my performance.
So okay, cool. Now, like, what has changed for you since finishing the program? What has changed in, I don't know, your personal life, in your career, in your finances, or even internally? What has changed?
I would say a lot has changed, really. We oftentimes talk about the detachment in sales, and I feel like that's one of the biggest things that has changed for me. Where I find myself like being much more detached from the outcome. That's one thing, and then just my state regulation as well. Instead of feeling like these huge ups and downs, I would say that it's much more stable, and I find myself just there to perform that task, and try to do it as best as I can instead of me doubting myself. Those are the biggest changes.
Okay, so if you could quantify it, what tangible results did you achieve?
Hmm. Yeah. So, um, my close rate definitely improved. I don't have the specific numbers right in front of me right now, but I remember as I was going through the training with you, I started just closing a lot more, and um, also I just one other thing really that just came to mind was I would end my day feeling like I actually ended it, because one thing that I did do a lot was just feel like I wasn't ever able to escape work. So that was another big change as well.
Okay, so what is the most valuable outcome that you've gained emotionally, financially, or personally?
Hmm. Um, so the biggest thing I would say is probably, being I guess okay with being uncomfortable, as I mentioned earlier. Because like I have seen better results since then financially. Now I still do have a lot to grow, I feel, right? But that's actually something that excites me, right? And I know that I kind of unlocked this inner thing that I was struggling with thanks to your help. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing.
So how do you feel now compared to when you first came in?
Well, how do I feel now? I would say it's I've been missing out on a lot, just being that skeptical, That's mainly how I feel, I'm much more open to these kinds of trainings now and just these ideas in general, and you know, it's it's really I would say I'm just much more interested in this whole aspect of, the psychology, I guess, if we can call it that.
Yeah, of course. What I meant is like, what's different about how you show up every day now? Like, I don't know, in sales, in leadership, in life. What's different than uh, before first you came in?
Yeah. Well, as far as like what's different, the main things are really just being able to show up consistently, um, able to perform. I would say my I don't have these performance dips and these ups and downs really. It's more consistent than ever, and a lot of that I attribute to just being a little bit detached, or not a little bit, but just mainly detached from the outcome, and just being able to regulate my state a lot more.
Okay, so what's now possible for you that wasn't before?
What's now possible for me that wasn't before? Well, I would say really the thing that's possible that wasn't before is just being able to sit there in the uncomfortable conversations just without feeling the ick because I know my intentions. Um, and also I would say I'm much more confident in my abilities now. I see that, all this training that I did up until this point, it has really helped me. But due to that psychological thing that I had to work with, um, I wasn't able to unlock that. So, those
Yeah.
are the main differences.
Well, it's normal. I mean, skills, without skills, you don't go anywhere, but skills are going to take you only as far as your mind will allow it.
Yeah.
And the moment when we removed some of those crappy way of thinking, some not really useful beliefs and those piled up negative emotions, things start changing. It's simple as that. It's not to add more on it. It's actually to remove what does not belong there anymore. And that way things change. What you mentioned that you were skeptical at the beginning, and I still remember those conversations, right? Like, so what would you say to someone who is skeptical about investing in this kind of coaching?
Um, I'll say that, it's, if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking like, what does that have to do with anything? I'll just, work, I'll train, whatever I'm lacking in right now. But once you get to the spot mentally where you're able to perform at your peak consistently because you've managed your state, like you're gonna realize what a game changer this type of stuff is. So I would say go for it.
And who would you recommend this type of, let's say, approach to, and why?
Who would I recommend this? Well, everyone, honestly. I'm sure everyone or almost everyone has something to deal with internally that's probably limiting them. So, just being able to, figure that out, work with you and, just work with someone else who's used to helping people achieve their potential. Um, I basically the short answer is I would recommend this to anyone and everyone.
Yeah. So, and if you had to summarize your transformation in one sentence, what would it be?
And it sounds cheesy, but empowered, I guess. You know, just to be myself, be okay with myself, and just be a better leader in the process.
If you had to give me one word to describe your overall experience, overall everything, what would it be?
Mind changing,
Mm,
mind changing. I would say
mind changing. How to lose your mind.
no. How to get control of it.
Cool. In that case, I want to thank you, Juan, for sharing your experience. And it was pleasure working with you. It was pleasure seeing you growing. And it was pleasure having you here again. And I hope really that in near future, I'm going to be hearing even more results for you, even more uh, beautiful thing coming from your end.
Thanks, Bogdan. It was a pleasure working with you too, and don't worry, I'll keep you posted.
Thank you.